Oops. Hi there. I'm Lilia Lewis, and welcome to another edition of New Day, New Beginning. Now, we're going to take a walk down memory lane. And I'm going to ask you, how many times have you looked back and remembered, let's say, someone or something, and you wondered to yourself what it would be like to have it or them? Well, I have, and I'm sure you have too. But, it's like the guys, they see an attractive girl, and the first thing they say is, I wouldn't mind having her on my arm. Or, you know, sure wouldn't mind getting to know her better. Well, the same goes for women. Don't get me wrong, especially today, because the women today are very different. The whole scenario is different than the way it used to be when the guys had to approach the girl first. But guys, they make bets among themselves behind the girl's back, of course, to see who could get her attention. With their choice of words, their smooth talk, or their cool mannerisms. I know sometimes you can look across the room and you might say, "Oh, he or she looking good." And sometimes guys think, well, females, they like a flashy car or a new car at least, or they like a guy who's dressed to the nine. Look at everything's matching and he sure looks good in that suit. And, or they got money to just kind of flash around and they figure, money, you got money, you can get any girl you want. That's almost like standard, but not always. But that's what they think. And sometimes females do the same thing. They dress accordingly. I know guys like to see girls like this and wearing this or short skirts or, they just trying to do whatever gets the other person's attention. And this is the mentality of men and women, and especially today. I mean, that's why there's so much of this idolizing and following these entertainers and the singers and the athletes and the sports figures, and the list goes on and on. Anybody in the limelight, oh, I wonder what that would be like. Yeah, I wondered what it would be like. But for me, that was it for me. Just imagine. And we do. Many imagine a life with someone like that who would give them everything they want. But you notice I said everything they want, not what they need. There is a big difference, and that does make a difference. And that brings me to my title for today, which is Be Careful What You Ask For. Why? Well, because you just might get it, and then somewhere down the line, lo and behold, what happens? You're saying, oh, well, Lord, what do I do now? Why? Because you were caught up. You were too caught up in the hype. You were too caught up in being able to have anything you wanted. You were so caught up in getting what you wanted, you forgot. You forgot to look beyond the surface to see what it would cost you. And that's the biggest mistake we all make at one time or another. Now, remembering back a year or so ago, we were talking about, well, the Sean, what is his name? Sean Diddy Combs guy, the one who went to jail for brutally beating up his girlfriend, that girl named Cassie, drug her down the hall by her hair, back to the hotel room. I mean, just ridiculous. And but she was the girl who had what? Everything she wanted. She had more money. She got plenty of gifts. And she was on the arm of one of the richest and most famous entertainers there was. But you know what? Look at the price she had to pay. And I'm sure many a times back then, she even said, Lord, what do I do now? Well, now, today, fast forward, she's got a whole nother life and he's sitting in jail. But guess what? What's on his mind? He's trying to get a pardon. He wants a get out of jail free card, like it never happened. Let me get on with my life. She's getting on with hers. But you know what? That's why I continually talk about wisdom and knowledge. Because without wisdom and knowledge, our lives can become a disaster, just like hers was for so long. She did that. She endured that for years. She and many others, not just her, but she and many others. And that's the point. Who stops to think about the repercussions? Who stops to think about what if this and what if that? Nobody. It's just, oh, one big party, plenty of money. You know, you go here, you're there, you're traveling, you got it made. But do you have it made? Now I'm going to go to, and I want to start in Proverbs chapter 8, because this is about wisdom, of course. But this is wisdom talking to you, to us. And wisdom is saying, all the words of my mouth are in righteousness. There is nothing froward or perverse in them. So in these words, there is nothing froward. What did we say froward was? We talked about that before. It's habitually being inclined to be disobedient, to live your life the way you want. No rules apply to you. That was him. And that's so many people, not just entertainers and sports figures, but anybody with money and power and position. They think they can do whatever they want. But it says, wisdom saying, the words of wisdom are in righteousness, and there is nothing perverse or froward. And perverse simply means corrupt. So if you've got wisdom, you're not even going to focus on those things. And wisdom is saying, receive my instruction more than you would silver, and knowledge more than you would gold. I'm sure they all have gold and silver and anything else you could imagine, anything money could buy. But it's saying nothing supersedes wisdom and knowledge. It says, for wisdom is better than rubies. Wisdom is better than anything you could desire. Now sit here and think, what is the one thing? Oh, if only I could have this. If only I could have that. And we all could come up with stuff. But wisdom is something we can only get from here. And wisdom is not to be compared, because nothing supersedes the wisdom and knowledge that we need to go forward. And in it's in verse 14 or 15, it says, oh, did I miss a spot? I sure did. Wait a minute. Okay. Wisdom dwells with prudence and find out knowledge of witty inventions. So if you've got wisdom, you can pinpoint. You'll be able to see beyond the surface who's deceiving you. You'll be able to see beyond the surface who is not being truthful with you. You'll be able to see beyond the surface who's being dishonest. Now, let's go to Proverbs chapter 12 because this is relevant as well. And I thought that this was important to note as well. Proverbs chapter 12, in verse 15, it says, the way of a fool is only right in his own eyes. So these people, whoever they may be, whoever's influencing you to do something or, oh, this is going to be great, these people are the ones who think, well, whatever I'm doing, it's all right. Because they're not going to abide by the rules because they think they're above the law. But he who hearkens unto counsel is wise. To hearken simply means to listen. This is our counsel right here. A fool's wrath is presently known because what? They're hotheads. They're braggarts. He was a hothead. He was a braggart. He thought he could do whatever he felt like, and all the rest of them do as well. But a prudent man covers his shame, for he speaketh truth and showeth forth righteousness. But a false witness shows deceit. And in the end, if you're there long enough, it'll come to the surface. But if you had stopped in the beginning to reason, you would have caught it before. That's why your life turns into a disaster, because you're not paying attention. The lip of truth shall be established forever, but a lying tongue only for a moment, because it always comes to light. Deceit is in the heart of them that imagine evil, because they're always plotting and scheming and thinking how to get around this and how to get around that. I mean, we see that all the time. Even today, we're seeing all the exact same things happening today. No evil shall happen to the just, but the wicked shall be filled with mischief. And you know, we see that in our everyday life as well. Lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but they that deal truly are his delight. And you know what that reminds me of in Proverbs 3:7. That's where 3:6 starts off, trust in the Lord. But in 3:7, it says, be not wise in thine own eyes. Don't act like you know everything and everything revolves around you and you can control everything. Because it says, fear the Lord and depart from evil. Because you're going to get found out, whether it takes 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. Look how many years it took him. But the end result, but look at the price you have to pay. Now, it all again resorts to what I talk about so much, and that's choices. Making choices. I mean, do you choose the fool to take the follow the fool with all his deceit? Do you? I mean, and trickery? They're dangling you like a puppet. Or do you want the way of truth with wise counsel? You've got to stay on your P's and Q's. I mean, do you find yourself sometimes, well, I'll do it this way, it'll be all right. And then later on down the line, you're wondering, well, why is this not working? And sometimes it don't take you that long to realize, oh, this was a real mistake. And I know you've been there because I've been there. I mean, a lot of times we get into things and we think it's easy or it's good or we're listening to somebody else. But I mean, it's just we've got to learn to think before they always say think before you speak, that too, but you've got to think before you act, because a lot of times your actions, your impulsive actions, can cause you great misery. And then sometimes what are you asking for, first of all? Sometimes we're always asking for more. Then when you get to there, it's like, well, if I had this, and it's always more and more. But while you're doing all that, you're forgetting to be thankful for what you've already gotten. I mean, so many things. Let's take our daily things, and we speak about this all the time. We speak about it all the time. The things we take for granted are things that other people don't even have. Our health, how about that? Your physical body. You can walk, you can talk, you can see, you can hear. You've got a sound mind. Well, most of us do. And you got a home, a roof over your head, a job, whether you like it or not, a family. All this is important. I mean, and when I think about that, the first thing that comes to my mind are the poor TSA people, the TSA workers. And I don't understand the GOP saying, well, you all need to come back to work. Well, how can they come back to work without an income? Their income didn't stop, but the TSA income did. Why? Because of the GOP. I mean, they can't get to work because now they don't have any money to, what did they say themselves? To buy gas, to pay for a babysitter, excuse me, to pay for food. Everything that went up affects us, not the GOP. They've got their money. Their money's endless while we scuffle to survive. I mean, look at all the disasters we're surrounded by. We're every day in the weather, it's a flood somewhere, a tornado over here, wildfires out west. I mean, it's just so many disasters going on in our neighboring states. So many have lost what we forgot to be thankful for. They've lost their homes. They've lost their jobs. They had what we had last week, and a tornado came, and now it's rubble. And let's not forget the countries that are being destroyed as we speak in two separate wars. And two separate wars that seem to not even have an end. Oh yeah, they'll tell us, oh, it's coming to an end. We're doing this and we're doing that. We don't see it. Every time you turn on the news, all you see is more missiles. All you see is another destroyed city. All you see is more people dead. So where's the success? And I say all this to say, so don't be complaining about what you can't buy, what you don't have, yeah, I wanted to buy this and I need to buy that. You don't need to, you just want to. I mean, just try putting yourself in any of those positions we just spoke about. I just can't even imagine waking up tomorrow and a tornado comes and now I'm standing in this same spot. Notice I said standing because I won't be sitting because my house was destroyed. I can't even imagine that. Where do you go? What do you do? You have no money on you. You have no, your purse, is that in the rubble? How do you identify yourself? Where do you even begin? Think about those type things. And then think about how you can be a blessing. Start counting your own blessings. And in fact, I'm going to say this. Why don't you list or just think of 5 things that you are blessed with and just imagine how it would be without them? Or just imagine how it would be without one of them. Just one. We've got all these things we just spoke about, our health and our strength, and we can talk, blah, blah, blah. So, what happens if we lose one of those? How many people already have? How many people have lost family members? And everybody needs to think about somebody other than themselves. That's the whole point. But that's where more wisdom and knowledge comes in. But think about 5 things and imagine how you would be without just one of them. Just one. Now, that brings me to fruit of the Spirit. Well, the fruit of the Spirit, fruit simply means to produce, reproduce, reproduce, reproduce. Spiritual is meaning not, what's of the world. It's materialistic stuff. We don't want, and when you know what we talk about when we say materialistic, and that's all about things of the world. The same thing we just spoke about, the money, the possession, the power, having this position and being able to just run over everybody else. All these things can be taken away at the snap of a finger. And we saw that. We still see it with all the bombings going on. That Ukraine war has been going on for, this will be the 5th year. Half the people are dead now. All the buildings are mostly destroyed. What has been accomplished? Now we've got another war hanging over our head that we should have never been in. So now we've got to talk about, what are the fruit of the Spirit? They are the things of God. They are the things that we should be living by. Love, peace, joy, gentleness, kindness, goodness, forgiveness, meekness, truth, understanding somebody else's situation, being patient, and temperance. And these are all the things that are missing today. If any of these were happening, half the stuff we see wouldn't be going on. These are the things of God. These are the things we should be living by, just like the 10 Commandments. And of all the things that I've mentioned, how many of them do you actually live by? Well, the 10 Commandments, I might live by 4 or 5. 4 or 5? Well, you better get on the other 4 or 5. Well, I live by 8 of them. Well, that's good. Well, what are the 2 you're not applying? And of all these things, if we had more focus on these things, then we would have less time to focus on all the negativity and distractions of other things. Now, we talked before about the TV. Now, just like I talked about all the disasters and stuff, when they come on TV, what do? If you don't want to hear about it, you don't want to see about it, all you do is click the remote, change the channel, and move on. Well, this is how we can again use our mental remote, just like our TV remote. So if something's happening or something we don't understand, or you're thinking about something that you're trying to decide, should I or should I not? Well, if it takes that much thought, what do? If it's getting on your nerves, if it's getting under your skin, click your mental remote. That's all you have to do. Click that remote in your mind. Go pick up your Bible and read a few verses. Read the verses we discussed today. I'm sure that if you practice any of these things that we talked about today and do it on a continuous basis, not just because we're talking about it, but because it's a way of life and it's how we should be living. Not just for ourselves, not just for what we can gain or get quick and easy. That's not what it's all about. Now, I would like to share this poem with you. It's something I wrote way back in 2022, going back into the archives. And it's a poem I wrote, and I think it's very fitting for today. And it's called Be Thankful Always. And it goes like this. I want to belong to you, Lord, heart, mind, body, and soul, to follow you as the disciples did way back in the days of old. I want to be a good steward as the disciples were back then. They spread your word and sang your praise. Of your glory, there was no end. I wake up saying, thank you, Lord, as a brand new day begins. Then I go to bed thanking him once more as that same day comes to an end. And as I lay there quietly reviewing my day with him, I pray he'll give me health and strength to see a new day begin. And I made a note on here, and it says, have conversation with God, give him your requests, thank him for all you have, and praise him for all he's done. And I said to myself, read this daily for peace of mind and to relax. And I hope I've done that for you today. And my closing words for today are, put God first and everything else will fall into place. And until next week, I'm Lelia Lewis. Thanks for joining me.